Welcome back to the off cycle. I got another update on the vintage Runabout rebuild project, restoration project. I've been out here working on it quite a bit today. I got the stringers and everything cut out the other day. The rest of the floor cut out and the stringers cut out. Totally nasty. The stringers are rotted out. So I'm really back and forth whether or not I'm gonna put any wood back in this boat. I think I might go the composite route and do some Kusa stringers and then a Nitacore floor. So I'm researching that. I'm putting the floor and the stringers on the back burner right now and decided to jump into taking a look at the engine. I didn't get a key with the boat, so I ordered an ignition on Amazon that came earlier today, so I got that put in and the motor actually fired right up. I did a compression check on it. It's got right around like 130, 135 pounds on each cylinder, so it's pretty much perfect. The only issue was there was a crack in one of the pieces of the fuel pump, so I couldn't keep fuel pressure, so it's not going to continue running like that. So ordered one of those, and I pulled the carburetors off the motor as well. They actually really weren't that bad. They were pretty clean, but the gaskets and everything are old. So I disassembled the carbs, put them in the ultrasonic cleaner, and ordered rebuild kits that have the gaskets and needle, float needle and all that stuff. So I think those will be here tomorrow or the next day. So those will get put back together and they'll go back on the motor. So right now I was working on getting the lower unit taken off the motor, and I'm having trouble getting that off. So I kind of put a pause on that. It was just frustrating me. I didn't want to break anything. So I took a pause from that and started working on the cowlings. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you what I've got going on with the cowlings right now. So the lower cowlings I have all sanded down, smoothed out, cleaned up. They're ready for paint. I'm actually just gonna paint them with rattle can. I'm gonna paint them with appliance epoxy, which I've had good luck with. I've painted jet ski hulls and stuff with that. It's gas resistant. It's actually really tough stuff, and it doesn't look too bad. I'm not gonna put a bunch of money into like a two-part paint and all this stuff. This is the hood. I took all the foam out. I'm getting rid of the badges. I'm not gonna put the badges back on. I'm gonna fill those holes right there, just so I think that'll make it look a little bit older and maybe match the boat a little bit without the badges on there. Plus they weren't in great shape. So the stickers came right off. This is the easiest sticker removal I've ever had. They literally peeled off without even adding heat or anything, all in one piece on each side. So that was great. So the top I've got sanded down. It's been spray painted before over the original paint. So I got most of the spray paint off. This slightly off-white is still some of the leftover aged spray paint. There was it had been dropped on the corner here and it was crushed. So right now I've got this prepped, and I'm about to start glassing this up and building this back up so I can shape it out and have it all nice for paint. And then at the same time I'll go ahead and fill these holes that I have in here as well and get those filled in so I can paint this guy. I think I'm gonna paint this white like everything else, but I think I'll probably do some kind of green or blue accent on here. Whatever I decide on top side for the boat, I will do on here as well, just to kind of make it match. And then I may try to find, or I may just make like a more old school Johnson decal. I've got a vinyl cutter, so I may just make that, or if I can find some old Johnson like emblems that are fairly cheap, then I'll get those. But I'm assuming those are probably for decent shape ones, and they're probably fairly expensive because they're probably not very common in good shape. So I'll show you the inside of the boat now. So everything in here is cut out and clean for the most part, as far as sprayed out. So I'm gonna pressure wash it and scrub it out to get it totally clean and let it dry out. So I still have to go through and grind a lot of this flat where there was, I couldn't get all the way to the floor, especially up in the bow. You see up in the bow, I couldn't get all the way down to the base to trim the fiberglass really close to the hull, just because I couldn't get the tool in there. So I've got a flat disc. I'm gonna go ahead and grind that stuff down. But like I said, I'm putting a pause on this floor and stringer situation until I figure out what I want to do, how much money I want to invest in it, and then where to source the stuff. That's kind of the big thing, is where to source Nitecore and Kusa and stuff, and not have to order it and pay egregious amount in freight costs. I'm also gonna redesign this bilge drain, this one box here with one little hole for the center section of the hole here and one on each side, and a little port behind the last stringer for water to flow from this outside chamber into there. That's not cutting it. So I'm not doing, that's coming out. I'm not gonna be doing anything similar to that going forward. I'm thinking about bringing the floor back and actually stopping it short. So like the last few inches is completely open and water can just drop right off the floor into the back and go out the plug. And I think I wanna do that so the floor can aerate. The way this was designed right here, there was literally zero way for any airflow to go through there and help dry things out. So probably a big reason why it rotted out to begin with. That and the fact that the wood was just coated, a lot of the wood, especially the underside, was just coated in resin. It wasn't glassed on the underside. So, you know, you can coat wood in resin, it'll hold for a while, but it's really not a proper way to waterproof wood. This motor I've gone through and did a really good kind of degreasing. That's why it kind of looks crappy, because it's literally got every bit of oil is stripped off of it. So that has that like faded, hazy, flat look. So once I spray it down with some PB Blaster or some kind of penetrating oil to help protect everything, it'll look much better, but it's gotten really cleaned out. I was gonna take everything from here down off and paint that separately, but these bolts right here are, every single one of them is rusted. Why they didn't put stainless bolts in here, I don't know, but they're all rusted and I can't even turn them, and I'm not dealing with trying to break those off and then have to get my welder out and weld a nut on each one and try to back it out and risk ruining this whole motor because their stuff broke off in the power head. So that is just gonna get roughed up on the boat and then painted. It just sucks. I'm gonna have to tape everything off and paint it on there. And like I said, the lower unit, I'm having a hard time. The drive shaft is kind of seized in there and not really wanting to come out for me. So I'm gonna work with that another day. I'm gonna leave it for today, but that's gonna have to come out, and then I'll be able to replace the impeller. I did order an impeller kit as well. So the next step will be to remove this motor completely. I think maybe tomorrow I'll go get some lumber to build a stand for this. I think I have some casters in the garage that I can put on there to make my life easier so I can roll it around. Oh, and if anybody has one of these motors and knows that, you know, it usually has this cable that goes to this actuator that is back here next to this nitrogen cylinder, and that's the lever for the assist for the trim. My housing and the lever and everything was busted. The housing was busted, and that thing has a lot of tension on it. So basically how I did it, I just took the old cable, put it over top of this is like a 1/2 inch thick, maybe 5/8 inch thick piece of plywood. I put a little piece of scrap metal on the top so it didn't bite into the wood, just taped it on there. Went over the wood, screwed it in, wrapped around another screw, screwed it in, and it goes up over this piece of plywood and hooks into that piston that has to pull up to release pressure and allow me to lift this motor. And then I just brought it down here and used a floor jack to press up on it. So I can easily press up on it and was able to lift the motor and get the motor locked in so it's tilted up. But if you can't pull up on that thing, you're screwed and the motor is stuck down. So I plan on probably keeping this motor and running this motor since everything so far seems good on it. And I'll probably go ahead and remove this system. And I know there's several motors like the Evinrude 60 and 50 and whatnot that have a compatible power trim. So I'm just gonna have a separate switch up in the front for power trim. I just have to find one of those and source one.